Good morning, everybody. Welcome to the final show of this week. It is Friday, January 13th, and we are the Investing Bros. We go live every single weekday morning from 9 to 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. So if this is your first time here, welcome to the show. We got a great one lined up for you. Go ahead and subscribe if you love crypto, if you love investing, if you love having fun while looking at that stuff. You have found the exact right channel. We got a lot to talk about because Bitcoin has been on a tear this entire week. And despite the fact that the charts keep flashing some overbought signals, it keeps going to the upside. And I am expecting a little bit of a cool off, but there are some prices above us that look very interesting that we're going to take a look at today, as well as some other cryptos as well. We're going to take a look at Atom in detail. There's a price I want to keep my eye on for that one. And we're going to be looking at AVAX as well. Both projects are very, very hot right now. A lot of community is building around them. They're some of the newer cryptos that I think could have a very, very good bull market this next one. So make sure you don't miss a single second of the show. At the end, to wrap up the stream, we got a treat for you guys. A little hint into what some Patreon behind-the-scenes content might look like, but we want to do it for you guys today. Make sure you go ahead and hit that like button as well. And guess what? We got one more surprise. Before I introduce T. Shum, we told you guys yesterday, we got all the qualifications of being monetized yesterday, but it says to wait an entire month. Well, we woke up this morning and we are fully ready to go. So literally, if you guys want to give super chats, we are now available to do that. We'll be able to start making some of that money. And we announced yesterday, just so you guys know, any money that this channel ever makes, no matter what it is, whether it's super chats, whether it's Patreon, whether in the future when we maybe sell some courses or maybe sell some merch, 20% of everything that comes in will be going back out to charity. So just want to update you guys on what's happening there so you guys can celebrate with us, because again, this is a community. It's not just the Tim and T. Shroom show. This is the Investing Bros, and that's all of us. So if you guys are excited about that, make sure you hit that like button. T. Shroom, how are you doing today, though?
Tim, I am doing really, really well. And I've got a quote here for us, quote of the day, which is going to be some foreshadowing to our special treat later in the show. Oh, yeah. And that is, language is the roadmap of culture. It tells you where its people come from and where they are going. And that is from Rita Mae Brown. And it looks like we just got our first super chat from Eric Wallen, donated $10. And Crypto JMP donated $5. Said boom sauce. So we're going to have to screenshot that and probably tweet it out. I know I am.
Yeah. I mean, go ahead and can you screenshot it right now?
Yeah, I got it.
Go ahead and do that one. This is going to be exciting, guys. Another chapter in the beginning of the Investing Bros that you guys have just made so special. Again, we've only been here for 2 months and we're already getting to this point. I don't think that necessarily broke a record, but it's definitely impressive. That's what one of my coaches used to say about literally everything. They said it couldn't be done. And, so I don't know who they are, and I don't remember anyone saying it couldn't be done.
What coach was that?
Yeah,
was that Robbie Johnson? Was it?
Well, Mike Patz for sure. That's not a coach, but Robbie Johnson and Mike Patz, they say that all the time. They said it couldn't be done.
Yeah, they said it all the time. I think about that whenever I play volleyball. Oh my! Because Robbie used to say that. Anyway, it's a local hometown hero joke.
Man, we got some more. Brad Geidel said, "Oh, nice! Congrats on the super chats team. Thank you, Brad." Mr. J just wanted to donate, so shout out to Mr. J. Man, it's going to be a great show today. I'm excited. Thank you to everyone who is just here. Even if you don't give a super chat, I want to just let you guys know. We're going to read names here in just a second, but I want you guys to know how absolutely grateful T-Shroom and I are. Is that, speaking of language, I don't know how grateful we are that you guys choose to wake up every single morning and be a part of this stream. It means a lot to us. Speaking of this stream, T-Shroom, what are some headlines? Because, again, we talk technical analysis. We talk news. Today, we're going to have some fun at the end.
Yes.
What is some of the news we're going to be talking about today?
So some of the news that we'll be talking about today is as follows. Crypto.com sadly joins Coinbase, slashing workforce by 20%. Wah, wah. Grayscale, SEC argument for blocking Bitcoin ETF is illogical, says Grayscale. So we'll be hearing about that. And then for the Fed, 3% is the new 2% when it comes to inflation. I believe that's an opinion from a journalist that's not necessarily straight from the Fed, but we're going to read about that. And then one of my personal favorites, the SEC chair Gary Gensler advises U.S. troops to stay away from crypto. And as a U.S. troop, I have a very strong opinion on that, as you might imagine. And crypto firm Genesis and Gemini charged by the SEC with selling unregistered securities. That's an interesting next step in the in the DCG saga here. as that becomes a very, very big story in crypto. And that's going to round out our stories for crypto. Yeah.
Awesome. Well, let's go ahead and jump over here. We got more super chats, but I also want to read some of the names in chat. But 2 special shout outs to these super chats came. One from Kelly Kellum. Absolutely love that guy. We go way, way back now in crypto. He's very instrumental in my education of cryptocurrency and technical analysis. So shout out to him. Again, I think I said this yesterday, but in case you haven't subscribed and go over and check it out, at 10:30 now, every single morning, Kelly goes live on the BitLab Academy new YouTube channel. Actually, I don't know how new it is, but I know that it's being active more recently. Does a phenomenal job. He's doing a lot of crypto education with some evergreen content. If you guys go watch him today, go back and watch the episode yesterday. I loved the vision he casted for what that channel's trying to accomplish. So look forward to continuing to work together. He's going to be on the show very soon. I don't know when, but I'm gonna drive up to New York City and headlock him if he says no until he eventually says yes.
And by the same sword, Army Piper in the chat.
That was my second one I was going to shout out. Yeah, go ahead. You go.
The Charts Prime is a YouTube channel that Army Piper's been working really hard on, and definitely go check that out as well.
Yeah, we were just on with him the other day. Had a great show, and that's another one. We're going to get him on very, very soon to come on the channel. He might even, especially days that maybe like T. Shroom or I are out, maybe he'll be like a special fill-in guest for Investing Bros.
I got to be honest, his format for like the debate is probably one of the best I've seen, because the questions that Army Piper was asking, right on, the most relevant questions. And then the people on there all friendly. You know, there wasn't any kind of like hard feelings or anything. And the answers all very intelligent, especially mine, if I do say so myself. Yeah. And Tim's.
Right. Well, let's, I forgot we were saying the names. We didn't even read the super chats. Trevor S., by the way, also said, Happy Friday.
Nice.
Happy Friday to you, T-Shroom. Maybe that should be a new thing, Trevor S. I like it.
That's good.
Friday is old and boring. Friday from now on.
I like
Happy Friday. Kelly Kellum said, get it. Army Piper said, good morning, bros. Getting ready to start my show, but I wanted to say, hey, give you a like and a view. Have a positive Friday. He said Friday, but I think he meant Friday.
I think he meant Friday.
He meant Friday. So shout out to you, Army Piper. CBD Study wanted to give, but commented right after, said, let me get on this super train. Love it, love it, love it. Let's read some other people that are here, though, this morning. Our first commenter in chat was once again Curtis Rorick.
Wow.
Saying
Curtis
GM.
Rorick.
Big fan of the motor vehicles.
GM,
so he wanted to just let everyone know once again, if you're looking for a new vehicle, consider GM.
General Motors.
General Motors.
It's what keeps the country moving forward.
Elliot Locke is here this morning. Yair Navarro is here. T. Shroom is here, both in building and on chat.
Nice.
Brian Hoskins is here this morning. Mr. J, Mr. B, and Mr. B is Mr. Bitcoin, by the way. Jeep Girl is here. Trevor S. again is in chat. Crypto Jam P. Travis Harris is here. CBD Study is here. Adam Delgado. Eric Wallen. Army Piper was in there again. Steve Shrum. Ooh, Mr. Steve Shrum. Love having him here. Mike Play, Servando Estrada, Grand Roofing Incorporated. Who else? Crypto Set Guy is in chat. We got our blue name. Our moderator is here. Who else do we got in chat? Alan Decker.
Servando.
Max PP. Nice. It's Max P.
Max PP.
Ooh, I like that. I like that new voice. Yazin Barakat. 10 out of 10 am mispronouncing that.
That's
so
fine.
you gotta correct me on this one. Yeah. Well, yeah, I'm not necessarily convinced Yazin is the right way of pronouncing the first name either, but I'm gonna go with Yazin. But it's Barakat. I'm not very convinced of. Crypto Mini Bike. Mark Stone.
Crypto Mini Bike.
Curtis Rorick just gave a super chat saying congrats. Oh, this is gonna be fun. Servando Estrada said Cornales equals bros in Spanish. Cornales, because A would be right?
I have no idea.
Or is it Canales?
Carnales.
Sometimes you say a word over and over and over again.
Yeah.
Then you get it wrong over and over and over again.
I think
until you eventually get it right.
I do believe that's the case.
Or you just convince everyone to change it. Al Bundles is here. Mitch Shaw is here. T-Baz. Guys, that's about all I can read at this point because we got to jump into TA and news. But if I didn't read your name, that does not mean I don't love you. Thank you so much for being here. We got 72 people watching with 40 likes. We absolutely could get that up.
Whoa.
Thank you to Steve Shrum who just gave that. T-shirt, feel free throughout when I'm doing TA to just pause me and say, real quick, Tim, let's say thank you to
Super chat.
Try to wait for a good breaking point. Like, don't interrupt mid prediction. You know,
I'll interrupt you when like one of the indicators is giving you a hard time and you're frustrated and struggling.
That's the absolute best time to interrupt me. I do think so. Let's go ahead. Give me a second. My computer's Giving me some props
Drop
here.
a like if you like those echo voices I did. Those were a lot of fun. I have done some voiceover acting, as you could probably tell, and it's a little bit of fun there in the morning to put a little spin on our chat read. So
look at this. Yazin Bearcat said I was pretty darn close on both of them, so I'm getting better. Let's go ahead and go do some TA, though. Go ahead and go to my screen T-Shroom. Let's talk about Bitcoin here. Of course, this was the big one. Everyone has been watching this in awe. Like, if your jaw has not dropped at this rally here over the last couple of days, I don't know why it has not, because this is absolutely crazy, especially when we look at some of these points that you're going to see we're very much overextended. However, there's room to the upside. Let's start with a more macro look at this and take some really good looks at what's happening here. First one, this falling wedge pattern we have mentioned now for a while. We've mentioned ever since these touches we had back in late November, but we didn't just come back up and touch resistance. And I'm going to be honest right here. Here's a level where I'm going to say I was wrong. I thought that we were going to reject right there somewhere in the middle around 18.3 and head back to the downside. We did not. We broke through. Now, sometimes fake outs happen. Let's not necessarily rejoice. One of the strongest things we could see happen, yes, if we just shut up, that'd be great. But also, don't be necessarily too upset if what we actually do is end up curving back and coming down to test this form of resistance as support, and then we find a breakout point down the road and go up to the upside. We're going to talk about that prediction here in just a little bit, but I wanted to start by just showing you we broke bullish out of a falling wedge pattern. And then the newest one that's kind of developing this morning, we're going to zoom in here just a little bit, and I still have my marker on, so that's super embarrassing. We're going to zoom in here and look at what is happening here. Yesterday, I had a different line drawn, and after reconsidering and going back and looking at some other price actions, I've changed it. But what I originally had is like, okay, were we in a rising wedge pattern? I went back to the wick of what we call an automatic rally. Let's go down the 4-hourly chart and I can show you what I'm talking about. Whenever you have a big drop, more often than not, there's some people call it a dead cat bounce, some people call it a lot, but you jump back up and you set a new mark. This is what we call an automatic rally, and our automatic rally wick that we had right here came in around 18,143. Well, the wick we had over here back in December went a little higher than that. So I just, in connecting those dots, kept that going across. Let's go back to the daily chart, and that's what gave us an ascending level of resistance. However, after taking a closer look and thinking about this, I think a better way to actually look at this would be a flat level of resistance, giving us an ascending triangle, which, unlike a rising wedge, is bullish. And I'll explain why I think that this flat level of resistance is actually really, really important to keep your eyes on. And oh my gosh, I see what Crypto Set Guy is doing in chat. We appreciate it. But that I know what you're doing, Jeffrey. Just so you guys know, Jeffrey is a good friend of mine, but I have him saved to my phone as Jeffrey Fritz, best frenemy. And there's a reason for that, because he does things like that. So before, I feel like I let them on a little pedestal. Before we get into why we have a flat level resistance, T-Shroom, why don't you go ahead and read some of those super chats?
I don't mind if I do, Tim. Well, we've got a couple of super chats here. Let me just scroll on over to them. Steve Strum left $5. Crypto Set Guy left 99 cents.
A lot of times.
And then Crypto Set Guy left 99 cents. Oh, and Crypto Set Guy left 99 cents.
Yes.
And then was it Crypto Set Session Guy left 99 cents? And then Crypto Set Guy left 99 cents. So thank you so much, Crypto Set Guy.
Yes.
Wow. That's awesome. Maybe the one key on his keyboard wasn't working, so he just had to use the 9. But Taylor Warren donated $1.99, and she said, I love the Investing Bros. Who is Taylor Warren? It sounds such a familiar name.
She sounds like a really hot woman that
nice.
I'd like to get to know better.
Wow. Yeah. And we don't say that about everybody in chat.
I really try to suppress these things, but when I see them, I got to call them as it is, and that looks like one hot woman.
You could just tell from the icon.
Yeah.
You can.
I can tell. Very much so, yes.
Eric Wallen donated $2, and then Crypto Set Guy donated 99 cents, it looks like. So that's pretty cool. And then all right, Servando Estrada also put a couple happy faces down there, even though that wasn't.
I love it. We're going to go back to TA. I made a massive mistake by saying let's interrupt. Let's interrupt the TA. Now we're going to go ahead and hold off on super chats. Thank you so much for them, but we're going to get through this technical analysis.
Let's do it.
Because otherwise Crypto Set Guy will ruin the show. Let's go back to what we're talking about here. So flat levels of resistance here. Man, if you guys are just joining, it has been a roller coaster every show so far. These levels, the first one I have at that first automatic rally, the second one I put at the peak we had back in December. When you go back and look over, the reason why I decided to go with this level is look at these lines and where they have been used as support in the past. This time they were used as resistance, but I've told you guys before, anytime you see a former support level and then we break below it, watch for it to become resistance, and then again, flip back to the upside. Once we break above it, watch for it to be used as support. So these levels have been significant now for multiple months, which gives significance to the level of being a flat level of resistance rather than being an ascending one. So with that said, we now have an ascending triangle built out on Bitcoin. Let's take a look at some of these predictions, because we're gonna take a bearish look here and just saying there are things I'm gonna show you guys to believe that we could cool off. But let's keep the positivity rolling in Bitcoin. Where could we go? So yesterday, T-Shub and I were talking about what the chances would be of Bitcoin potentially making it all the way towards 21,000. And I said, do you see this in the cards? He said he did. Well, guess what? That deck is looking very, very advantageous right now, because if you were to take the opening of this rising wedge pattern, move it over to a breakout, you're going to get us a price prediction right here of $21,000. $21,059, excuse me. So that is the first level that I am keeping an eye on right here, that technically speaking, this breakout would give us a price all the way up towards here. Now, I'm not saying we're going to make a straight shot to it. We absolutely could, especially with what Bitcoin has been doing recently. It does seem like the bears have fallen asleep, but I'm going to show you guys here in a couple of minutes, why there are reasons to think we'll cool off. But even if we cool off a little bit, keep your eyes on that level right there, 21,000, because a lot of this price action we're seeing here is showing that absolutely is where the market is pointing towards us going. But let's take an even more macro look. Let's talk about maybe what we could see later on in the year. Even though this is the bottom we had back in June, I think it's going to take a little bit longer. So June would be, 7 months ago? So maybe we're looking at like 7 months in the future, give or take. I don't know. I think this is going to be, the prediction I'm about to give you is a little high for my take anytime soon. But another level to keep your eyes on that we potentially might have a peaking out point is when you take the opening of our falling wedge pattern. Let's move it over. So we broke out right here. Let's just imagine we end up curling back down somewhere down here towards the support level. This would give us a price prediction all the way back up above $25,000. $25,600 is what I'm looking at exactly right here. And this is significant. Now, why is this significant? Because we said this yesterday. $25,000. If we can get above that level, that would be the first time. Let's go to the weekly chart to see this. That would be the first time in this entire bear market that we finally could set a higher high. What am I talking about right here? You guys can see it's really hard. Let me go to a different chart and show you guys this, because otherwise this looks very, very messy. I'll go log chart just because that's what I have this stuff drawn on. Look at our peak we had back here in November of 2021. Peak right here, 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 and now we're right here. We have not ever in this entire bear market been able to rally back above a previous high. That's why it's a bear market. As lower lows and lower highs, that is a downtrend, that is bearish. If we can get back above not just 21, which would be great, but 25, countering two of these points, that is when you are actually looking at a trend reversal. And you're saying we are back to setting higher highs. Potentially, I want to see what the lows are doing, but can we be setting higher lows? And that is what we would officially be able to deem a beginning to the bull market. Does that mean in a matter of like 2 days after that, we're going to shoot up to new all-time highs? No, it doesn't mean that. But it's a positive sign that we're going to be seeing money come back into the space, barring some crazy event like a pandemic or something else of a global scale, maybe like a world war or something. This level, 25,000, to me is my break it point. If we can reconquer 25,000, I am ready to say with confidence the bottom is in, the bull market is resuming. Doesn't mean we won't maybe retest 20,000, maybe even 19,000, but we're not going to be retesting and making new lows, in my opinion, after a $25,000 conquered price. Let me know in chat what you guys think about that, but let's go back over to Bitcoin and let's talk about some things that maybe are a little more negative. We talked about the positive. We've said, hey guys, keep your eyes on these levels. Let's go ahead and take these predictions down and let's just focus right now on some more realistic short-term things. Let's go down all the way to the 4-hourly chart Konami Auto, get me all fixed up here. There we go. All right, so we are rallying. Now, currently, we're struggling right at this resistance level here, right below 19,000. Yes, we had some wicks break through, but you're going to notice, let me go out to the daily chart once again. This zone has been significant, and the reason I have this zone drawn like this, let's go back to the major dip we had back in June. The wicks came all the way down to 17.6, and that's why that level is super important. But the day closed right up here at 18,900. Well, sure enough, that's almost the exact spot that we wrestled with yesterday. Let's see if we can break through today, but right now that continues to be a heavy level of resistance. Let's go back down to the 4-hourly chart and pull up some oscillators here. If we pull up our RSI, you're going to notice we have just now on the 4-hourly chart started to set bearish RSI divergence. This is very slight, very, very slight, but technically speaking, in the same timeline, the RSI just moved down and is making a downward progression, but the price continued to move to the upside. Now, could this continue? Let me close that one out. Could this continue to the upside? Absolutely. And in fact, I expect we will have more bearish divergence and even stronger looking ones develop. However, we're starting to see some cool off begin to form. I'll show you even maybe a little deeper. Let's go down to the hourly chart, which is really going to show us more of like what today's going to look like. And let's look at that. The price continues to climb. The RSI is clearly falling. The bearish divergences are starting to come in. And when I look up, let's look at our Lux Algo oscillator as well. You're going to see we've been flashing now for multiple hours that we are a little overbought. It's time to sell off. Massive clouds here on the 4-hourly chart. Let's even go look at the daily chart. The daily chart, actually, it's funny. The daily chart has not flashed, T-Shroom. If you were able to zoom in, there's a very, very, very small cloud coming in, but it's so unnoticeable. It's not necessarily significant, but you're going to see it on these other levels. 12-hour, we're starting to get flashed, overbought. 8-hour, we're overbought, of course. 6-hour, 4-hour. They're overbought. So while we see those things coming in, it's something to be hesitant about and say, man, we got to keep our eyes on Bitcoin to see, is it able to continue to push or is it time to cool off? But let's get back to being a little positive here, because guess what? More than likely, we will end up cooling off, and we have just conquered some new support levels that look very juicy for potential action to retrace down to. Now, I told you before, remember when we're talking about this ascending triangle, flat level of resistance, ascending level of support, we just conquered former resistance. What would be very dynamic for Bitcoin and very strong would be to come back down, use this bearish divergence, cool off, come back down and retest these resistance levels, but turn them into support and then rally on that news. That's when we're talking about a potential $21,000. And guess what? We still have, what is it, 3 weeks and 4 days, 5 days, something like that, before Fed announcement. I do believe that's some of the biggest impact on price right now, barring something crazy happens with some of these exchanges. And we'll talk about that more in the news. But we've known for a while these exchanges are going down, and yet the price of Bitcoin keeps pushing up. So watch potentially for, if you're looking for a good entry point on a Bitcoin trade, watch these prices down here at 18,300, maybe even down towards 18,160, maybe at several different entry points for a retest, turn into support, and then it's time to take off back up maybe towards $21,000 as we talked about before, and shoot back to these levels, these peaks that we had here in November. Now remember, I talked about this before too, not beating out 21,000, like we can't conquer 21,200, 300 almost. We're already above the RSI. That's going to set up some nice looking bearish RSI divergence that could bring back a more significant drop. Even though we're really excited about this rally right now, do not be fooled. This does not mean that the bottom automatically is in. There still is a probability of setting new lows, especially as some bearish things in our economy continue to unfold. You know, whether you believe we're currently in a recession or you think it's coming, one way or the other, the economy is still going to get worse before it gets better, and Bitcoin being treated like a risky asset is not going to be able to evade that. The best thing for Bitcoin would actually be for people to start treating it more like a commodity, gold, silver, such and so, because those are the projects that actually do, I say projects, those are the equities, and those are the things that do well during recessions. Would love to see Bitcoin do that, but we cannot count the chickens before they've hatched. That's an egg joke because egg prices are ridiculous right now. We can't count them until it actually happens. So that was a lot there. Hopefully it makes sense to all you guys. If it does not, I'm sorry, but keep your eyes on 21,000, but wait for a retracement first. Let's move over. I got a little bit of time left, and then we're jumping to stories. Instead of looking at Ethereum and Cardano, because it's going to be a very similar story. They're moving up, but they have levels of resistance they're sitting at. Maybe it's time to cool off before a nice push through. Let's take a look at Atom, which is one of the projects that has been moving very nicely, and I do think is going to play a major role in this next bull market. It's one that, you know, we don't give financial advice, so I'm not going to say you should. I'm going to be honest with you. I am going to be adding Atom to my portfolio this bull market. T-Shroom, will you be?
I already have it,
Oh.
and I will be adding more Atom as revenue comes my way. But I do wanted to just pause because Gia S donated $5. She said, "Woohoo! Good morning, guys."
Love it.
And that's really cool. Back to you, Tim.
She probably said that out loud when she said it too.
Yeah, as she was typing it, which is great.
I love it. I love it. All right, well, let's get back to Adam here. Let's take a look. Similar story. So there's some similarities and there are some differences, but I want to take a look at it. It is sitting at a key level of resistance right now. This zone has played in effect ever since back in May of 2022. It was used as resistance, turned back into support several times, had several rallies right here. Now it was turned back into resistance, but we're starting to break through. But as you guys can notice, on the daily chart, we got that green candle right up to this top level of the zone, and then we saw a red one. So wait, when we're talking about pullbacks, and we got our daily chart, we got our overbought signal coming in on the Luxago indicator. Watch for a potential pullback anywhere between the middle and the bottom of this range, maybe as low as 1094, maybe somewhere in the middle, closer towards 1162. Either way, I do expect Adam to go ahead and back off. When we go down the 4-hourly chart, you're going to see it. Yeah, we got our bearish divergence coming in with these RSI tops falling, even though the price continues to rise. However, the level that I'm kind of looking at, I'm going to show you a couple reasons as to why I'm looking at this level, is up here. I'm going to keep my eye on, I think a good take profit level for Adam is going to be somewhere around 1342. So whether you're currently in a trade, whether you want to enter one when we come down a little lower, watch for a good level of take profit around 1340. I would love to see it break through, but you guys will notice we have a 3-touch resistance level falling right now, kind of in a very, we almost have like a megaphone pattern. This isn't, is it parallel? Yeah, this isn't a parallel line. We have a falling level of support in a zone we've been respecting. We have a falling level of resistance. I'm watching potentially for a pullback and then a retest of this zone somewhere in this area right here where we'll retest both of them. The other reason why this level is super, super important to me, I'm going to go ahead and show you guys on let's take our oscillators down. Got to get my marker off though. Let's go ahead and look at the Fibonacci and go back to this peak that we had back here in, what is this? This is September of 2022. Highest we've been here in a couple of months, all the way down to the bottom, and you're going to notice, let's see, why is that doing it like that? Oh, it wasn't that zone. Let's change this actually. Let's go back to the most recent peak we had here. The golden pocket's going to put us right up in this area around this level 13, what is this, 1346. The other thing that I was looking at, what was the other one? Fibonacci's right here. Let's see, when we pull it up here, I doubt it's going to be this one because that's not giving any match to that one. So golden pocket on Fibonacci, I believe also that's what it was. Look, using our Luxago indicator, our action concepts, we also have a nice level of volume. Let's go to the 4-hourly chart, and now I'm looking really messy here, so I got to get rid of my Fibonacci. Oh, man. Which chart did I see it on? I was looking this morning. Maybe things have adjusted. It made it all the way up back towards $15, but there was also some level that it wanted some liquidity at this level as well. Let's pull that down. Let's pull up our last one. I know that I had some more significance to that level, and let's go out here to our fixed range volume profile. And you're going to notice this is a valley right here. Yes, we have one kind of sitting right where we currently rejected. You guys have known I've talked about this before. I've said that really fast. We've talked about this before. Peaks are very important. I love peaks, but sometimes the best reversal zones are actually the valleys of fixed range volume profile. Well, guess what? That $13 is sitting, $13.39, is sitting right in this little valley, another spot potentially where bears could finally wake up and regain some control. So keep your eyes on that. We still have room to the upside here on Atom. Long term, a lot more upside, but I wanted to show you guys a shorter timeline thing that I was looking at. One more coin, and then we'll keep moving on with our news stories. AVAX also is a very interesting coin that had a big headline here the other day, partnering with Amazon. And now that news alone could start to make you say, all right, let's forget about charts for just a second. Let's watch this run wild. But if you were using charts and you're going to use this to make a wise trade, we just broke bullish out of a falling wedge pattern with that breakout prediction going from the opening of said falling wedge pattern, moving it over to a good breakout zone. This could give us a price all the way back up towards $23.31. Let's take a look at Fibonacci. I think this might have been the one that I was thinking of, and I got confused when we look at these levels. Yes, okay. So this is where I was thinking there's a lot of confirmation here. We have that golden pocket sitting right in the exact same spot. So kind of got some confirmation there, some good levels. Let's see. Was this one that I also had? I don't think we're going to find a lot of liquidity there. Usually liquidity, you're going to see it at peaks. But let's pull up our Luxago liquidity zones. It's going to be a little bit lower here on the daily chart. And yeah, it actually has us even higher. We have $19, then another one all the way up towards 29. I think it's gonna be a little much for us to gain anytime soon. But with that partnership with Amazon, it's absolutely doable. But for right now, go ahead and keep your eyes fixed on this range right here, $23. Two different things are calling for that price action. Yes, we're a little overextended, just like almost every other crypto. But as we talked about yesterday, sometimes in crypto, we've seen it happen during the bear market, and we're going to see it happen in other places as well. Sometimes we get into these zones where we start to get overextended to the downside. It looks like we have bullish RSI divergence. Everyone's convinced, okay, let's go ahead. Like right here, we have this peak to this peak. That's bullish RSI divergence. A lot of people wanted to buy right here, but the market still wanted to fall. So therefore, we continue to the downside. Same thing's going to happen in crypto, where we're going to set up these bearish RSI divergences, and everyone's going to want to sell, but smart money is going to know the fundamentals and the news outlook is a great time to buy, and the price will continue to the upside. So that is all I have for you guys today on technical analysis. There's a lot more out there, and we'll cover it in other shows. But that is some things that I wanted to show you guys this morning, and let's see if we hit these points. I've been right more recently than I've been wrong. A lot of my points have come true, so hopefully I'm right once again. We see that $21,000 Bitcoin within the next couple of weeks. We have some super chats before we get into the story, so I'll go ahead and read them actually.
Yeah, go for it.
You were Kim. Let's see. I want to make sure I don't miss any of them. Going back to the last one you had. We had the woohoo. All right. So Eric Wallen says Adam has a 21% staking on Exodus wallet right now. Yes, Adam, it does. Yes. We do want everyone to know. Do your research when it comes to staking.
Yeah.
Sometimes things are promised and the numbers look really good, but there's some hidden details that end up being non-favorable. So I'm not saying don't. I'm really not saying do or don't do. I'm saying go research to decide what you want to do. But there are opportunities out there, and if you find the right one, people have made a lot of money with staking opportunities. JD Park gave saying, "You guys are now my favorite show, bro. Bro your coin. Bro your coin.
Like know your coin?
I don't know.
Bro
Maybe.
your coin.
I love that JD Park
loves
us. JD Park, of course, the very, very amazing creator of the HODL trophy that we would reward, which we haven't done. We need to decide. That's one of our decision makings we have to make is what do we want to structure our new competition to have a new...
Because I won the last one, right?
I don't know. I don't remember.
I think you do know, and I think it's because I won.
I try to block out bad memories.
Yeah.
You know? I got you. Positive.
Well, on
we have two more. We got coffee on me, guys. It's from Kasha Cats. Crypto Set guy said Kasha has the coffee. I got the creamer. Thank you everybody to giving those super chats. If you guys just joined here recently, we got over 100 people watching, 77 likes, so we can get those mittens up more. But we just found out yesterday that we qualified for being monetized, and then one day later they let us know, oh, you're good to go. So. Thank you to everyone who made that possible. All the subscribers, all the videos you guys watch to get those watch time hours up. You guys are amazing. T-Shroom, take it away.
Well, I was just gonna say, every time you see an ad on one of our videos, just relish the moment. Because know that you're supporting. You don't. Well, I mean, you can skip it. I think we still get the revenue.
No, I think you have. I think it's based on how much the ad people watch.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Well, watch the whole ad and don't skip the ad, and we'll do more research on that and get you a confirmation. But so we'll get into the market open here, and let's go ahead and do that now. Sweet. So market open, starting with energy, natural gas coming down lower. I believe that this is due to the Fremont port in Texas, I believe it is, or Louisiana. Somewhere down there, the production stopped. So there is going to be a big stockpile of natural gas down there, which will lower the price. Higher supply, lower price. So U.S. oil, though, this was much more important in terms of inflation. U.S. oil chugging further. So still definitely not at the top of this range up here if you wanted to start calling this a channel. But it has successfully broken through this resistance. Hasn't come back and tapped it and confirmed it yet, but that could be just because it wants to rage higher. A bunch of different forces pushing oil higher right now, but one that I'll point out that I had not thought of before that I was reading about this morning. Benjamin Netanyahu is now the president or prime minister of Israel. He's their head over there. He just got reelected, and he is leading now one of the most hawkish Israeli governments ever. And this comes on the heels of new technology that has enabled Iran to potentially be nuclear capable in about 2 weeks, is what some reports are saying. So I don't think anybody's getting nuked. That's not what I'm saying. But what I am saying is that there could be conflicts over there that could potentially lead the price of oil to go higher. And that would absolutely negatively affect inflation, which will negatively affect any kind of exposure to risk assets that you may or may not have. Moving forward into the indexes, you're seeing a pretty uniform open here as the Dow, the NASDAQ, and the S&P are all opening slightly lower, about 0.6 on average lower today. And, that's not the worst thing ever. It's still the early minutes of the New York session here. So, but let's go ahead and check in on the S&P first and just kind of see what that chart is looking like. Yeah, so it's on the daily. We got a strong buy from LuxAlgo, which is kind of cool to see on the S&P. I don't know if I agree with that buy signal at this point in time, but there it is. You can feast your eyes on that and potentially get some hopium for the overall stock market. But
the thing to keep your eyes on right there, we're looking at, you see the trend catcher still red?
Yeah.
A lot of times you want to wait for, even after you get a buy signal, you want to wait for a change, in, especially because you're not on the, I use the contrarian signal, which tries to catch bottoms.
Yeah.
You're on the confirmation. Well, we don't have a green trend catcher. That's not necessarily confirmed by.
And one thing I'll point out too is it's really cracked its noggin here. The S&P has on this 200-day moving average, and it's immediately moved down. It didn't penetrate through like it did over here back in early December, and then again in December 13th. But you can see didn't even really make it through. Maybe by a hair if you go down to the 1 hour, but I'm not going to do that. Moving along to the other indexes, another one that I find interesting is the Dow, because it has really outperformed the NASDAQ and the SPY by quite a wide margin. This is pretty much the same line, guys, as the one we were looking at just a second ago. And let me just make sure I'm pointing that out accurately. This line, this pink line, is pretty much the same here as this green line. So that's what I mean. And as you can see, the price action has been trading above that line since November 9th. So it was resistance, turned support, and a pretty hefty, robust, multi-month confirmation shape here as it bowed down, tapped it, and then moved forward. That just shows that there is, a recession on, essentially, as money is rotating into security and lower risk assets in the Dow Jones. Moving along, we'll see another update on crypto here. Bitcoin, again, second day in the row that at least at this time, the early minutes of the New York trading session, Bitcoin has been leading the market up 0.5. All the rest of the index of the cryptos down significantly, and Atom leading the way lower. So super interesting stuff here, guys. Yeah, Atom getting a nice little correction off of this reversal wave, off the LuxAlgo reversal wave at the top. So that could easily have been predicted. Although I would say that minus that wick, it kind of reversed a little early, in my opinion. It didn't get all the way up in there like usually it does. Guys, if you are compelled to believe that LuxAlgo is providing good insights here on the charts, which I absolutely believe, and Tim does too, you can go down and check out in the description of our video what the link for LuxAlgo. So you can set it up there, and that absolutely 100% supports our stream and gets you everything you need on the charts to make a more educated decision. So that's crypto. Let's keep moving. Let's look at metals. Getting a little bit of a pullback this morning in silver, and gold continuing to chug higher. U.S. steel coming down. We won't look at that, but we will go ahead and open up gold, as it is our winner this day for precious metals. And man, it's broken out of this channel quite well, and it is moving towards that reversal cloud on LuxAlgo on the daily chart. So maybe a time to start taking profits in gold if you've been long it. We did talk about this several weeks ago. I want to say 3 weeks ago is when I started talking about gold, at least. So you may have entered a position there. Maybe time to take profits. If you're a long-term trader, I would just leave it alone. Gold is probably going to do well this year just because of the recession woes. Silver, I've been waiting for a pullback in silver, and we haven't really been getting it. It started to come down, but then started trading sideways. I wanted to buy silver down here closer to 22 even, and I haven't really had that opportunity, as it hasn't really closed down below 20.26. Now that I have diversified into silver a little bit, but not very much. Big tech stocks looking red across the board. Tesla down another 5%. And let's see, Microsoft down about 1%. So that's going to be the major contributor to why our stock indexes are down today. Let's go ahead and take a look at Microsoft, and maybe we'll take a peek at Tesla as well.
We gotta speed up, get through the stories, and get to our special treat, though.
Absolutely. We want to spend as much time on that special treat as we can.
Yeah.
So as you can see here, Microsoft still under a sell signal on the daily and still red trend catcher, but had a nice little kiss there on that reversal cloud, on the Lux Algo reversal cloud down there back in January 23rd. Not January 23rd. We haven't January 6th, 2023. All right. Moving through to the bonds, you are seeing those yields come up on the bonds, especially on the younger ones. The older bonds here, the 30 and the 20. Why do these keep getting out of order? These are red. At least the 30 is actually breaking even today, at least on the yields. The Dixie making a little bit of a tick back higher today, but man, it's just a sell-off rally, so it's just a little recovery candle there.
Yeah.
Maybe we'll cover that a little bit more if we have time, because that is exciting. Potentially bearish, not exciting to the upside, but exciting in the terms that it's just generally going to get your heart rate up. Cannabis red today. Mid-cap stocks mixed. These could be just anomalies. DraftKings and Robinhood. And then your oil producers are coming in pretty red. Especially Marathon Gas here down 1.7%. We cover oil producers because that was one of the most successful sectors last year in 2022 as oil shot up and those companies made a lot of money. All of those companies are profitable as long as oil is above $70 per barrel. So, similar to gold, it's a similar play to gold. You want to get in those oil producers to preserve your wealth, especially if you are over-leveraged crypto like a lot of folks are who are watching this channel. Well, that's going to be your market open, guys. Let's go ahead and get into some of the stories here. Were there any more super chats, Tim?
Not that I've seen. Yeah, so we're good.
Tight. So we'll get into the stories here. Crypto.com joins Coinbase slashing their workforce by 20%. So pretty crazy stuff here. The CEO said that while the company's staff reduction last July positioned the firm to weather the economic downturn, Crypto.com did not account for the collapse of FTX. So they weren't factoring in FTX there. They needed to. Grayscale, we talked about this in the open. Grayscale SEC argument for the blocking of Bitcoin ETF is illogical. They have gone 5 rounds in a legal battle between the SEC and crypto investment firm Grayscale. The latter slammed the commission's previous brief, indicating that the regulator's central premise is illogical. And I tend to agree with that. Its central premise that the exchange's surveillance sharing agreement with the CME provides adequate protection against fraud and manipulation in the Bitcoin futures market, but not the spot market, is illogical, argued Grayscale in today's response brief. The obvious argument here from Grayscale is Grayscale's response countered that any fraud occurring in the spot market for Bitcoin would necessarily affect the price of Bitcoin futures. So that's a pretty airtight argument there, and it doesn't really give the SEC much room to wiggle, but at the end of the day, they have the final word on approving a spot ETF for Grayscale, Valkyrie, and any of the other financial institutions that want to issue a spot Bitcoin ETF or Ethereum spot ETF. The SEC will issue its final brief on the matter February 3rd, and I do not expect Gary Gensler to budge on that, unfortunately. And that plays into a much larger story that we're going to be getting. There's a couple more headlines here. In fact, our next one, that plays into the much bigger DCG narrative that is growing very big in the crypto space. And that is because really Gary Gensler needs to approve a spot Bitcoin ETF in order for some big bearish events not to happen. And that plays a little bit into my tweet that I put out yesterday that was a poll. And I won't get into that, but maybe in early next week, I am going to be doing a full comprehensive video on the DCG situation and to bring you all that brief.
The Kim Possible reference? What's the sitch?
What's the sitch? All right, moving along. So crypto firm Genesis and Gemini charged by the SEC with selling unregistered securities. And this is such an interesting move from the SEC because obviously they're late to the game here, but they're also coming at Gemini in a weird angle. But hey, that's the government. That's how they got Al Capone on what? Tax evasion? So that's kind of their style. According to the SEC, Genesis loaned Gemini users crypto and sent a portion of the profits back to Gemini, which then deducted an agency fee, sometimes over 4%, and returned the remaining profit to its users. Genesis should have registered that product as a securities offering, SEC officials said in a complaint filed in Manhattan federal court. So that is going to be there they are. There's the Winklevoss twins, the founders and owners of Gemini. So there's going to be a lot more shoes to drop here, guys, in this story for sure. Overall, you're kind of cheering for DCG to come out ahead here and just hire the Winklevosses wants DCG to hire a new CEO. Mm-hmm. And clean up shop and then just come out clean and pay whatever debts that they need to pay off. But ultimately, it's going to be a messy road to get there if that's the way that DCG wants to move. Well, for the Federal, we won't go into this one too deeply, but for the Federal Reserve, 3 is the new 2%. Yahoo Finance is reporting when it comes to inflation. So, like I said, we're not going to get into this too much, but this is the first time that you're seeing this narrative pop up, which could be. If this snowballs into a bigger story, this could be really, really interesting narrative for 2023 because this would move the goalpost.
Is this what the Fed's saying, or is this what people are speculating?
At this point, I'm just bringing it up because it's a headline. So I would say this is what people are speculating. I don't think that there was much actual quotation from Jerome himself or any of the other governors, but ultimately this is the first time I'm seeing this headline, and this could be very important if this continues.
Well, I think it's going to continue to come up. I will say this was kind of addressed at the last FOMC meeting, in which case Jerome Powell made it very clear 2% is still the target. So the Fed has not said anything about saying, 2% is unrealistic. Let's go ahead and shoot for 3. Mm-hmm. But I have the narrative 3 is the new 2 has been around for a little bit of time. Maybe it's picking up steam, and maybe eventually it makes its way into the Fed themselves saying it. Mm-hmm. But at this point, I want to make sure everyone understands. That's why I asked which one it was. The Fed has not said this yet, and this is great. I think it's something to keep it attached to, but we need to wait till we see Jerome Powell officially say, you know what? They're right. Mm-hmm. We need to shoot for 3%, not 2%.
So you're saying that 3% would be that the Fed should shoot for 3%?
I'm actually not making a statement either way.
Gotcha.
I'm saying for everyone who thinks that that's what they are saying, though, or that they should say, because 3% is new 2%. Everyone knows that we want to get back to 2%. I'm waiting for Jerome Powell to change to that point, because the reason why that's significant is it would be great to get all the way back down to 3%. We're currently sitting, at 6.5. It would be great to see 3%, but 3% is not going to stop the interest rate hikes. It'll be when we get back to 2% in Jerome Powell's eyes that we'll actually be able to get back to a place where borrowing money is going to be super cheap. It's going to be super easy, and that's when we're going to have a lot of good things. But if we change it to 3%, now that's a higher target. We don't have to go as long and have as much pain to get back to a normal level where interest rates drop again. It'll be easy to buy a home, make a business loan, stuff like that. So
yeah. Exactly. Well, there's definitely a lot of shoes to drop there as well. I personally don't think that the Fed should move the goalpost.
I don't think. I'm not making a stat.
I'm not saying you are.
I'm
just sharing my
one.
opinion.
Yeah.
So
I'll tell you what I will think. T-shirt.
Tell us what you will think.
I think we should just go ahead and get rid of the dollar and get rid of fiat altogether and start using. Yeah, we were trying to. Yesterday we were at the bank getting all our stuff set up, and we had that discussion with our banker at Chase Banker.
Yeah,
great bank, by the way. Shout out to them. They are not sponsors of this channel.
Very clean.
But they did a good job. Unfortunately, I will say they're attached to old J.P. Morgan and Jamie Dimon.
Yeah.
So that's what we were trying to get her to revolt against Jamie Dimon. Yeah. And I think we were half successful.
Yeah.
If you're watching, what was her name again?
Nicole.
Nicole. If you're watching this, shout out to you. Buy Bitcoin.
Absolutely. We were on the precipice of orange pilling our bankers there over at JP Morgan.
So close.
But alas, we were unsuccessful. Well, speaking of which, Gary Gensler is thinking he's going to be successful with the troops. And I've got something to say about this. SEC Chair Gary Gensler advises U.S. troops to stay away from crypto. Fascinating rhetoric coming from Mr. Gary there. He claimed that the niche looks like the Wild West due to its unregulated nature, meaning that people should not interact with it. The SEC chairman also thinks that most of the existing cryptocurrencies will crash at some point, triggering painful losses for investors. Guys, this part here in blue is actually, I don't disagree with any of this part, but that doesn't mean that you should divest from crypto. Most of the, he goes on, but to say, most of these 10 or 15,000 tokens will fail. That's because venture capital fails, new startups fail, but also because history tells us that there's not much room for microcurrencies, meaning that, we have the US dollar and the euro for Europe. Well, that's the part where is easy to disagree with because, yeah, there is a precedent for the US dollar and the euro being dominant, and there only being a handful of currencies around the world being traded. But guys, there's also a precedent for those countries not being in debt way over their eyebrows, okay? Our debt to GDP is up, 124%? That we've never had that before in the United States. No country has that went on and succeeded. So the fact that he's telling people, anybody, to do with their money what he thinks they should do is totally messed up, much less soldiers. But I kind of see the wave that he's riding here. Why? Because there's been a lot of positive momentum in the U.S. government for getting government workers to do what? To get off TikTok. Amanda was actually telling me that so universities are now doing this too. They're saying, hey, all of our staff needs to get off TikTok. And Joe Rogan's been covering this for a while. When Mike Baker comes on, they talk about TikTok and how TikTok is hoovering up information, not just from your phone and listening to everything that's going on. It's also listening on your laptop and listening on your iPad and maybe even your TV and stuff like that. So Gary Gensler is kind of riding that wave of the government saying, hey, get off TikTok, which I agree with. I never got on TikTok. I think TikTok is pretty bad. If we were ever to get a TikTok, everything would be on a separate phone and we would not have any kind of account connected to it. That's just me reserving the right to get a TikTok at some point. But ultimately, I don't like TikTok. And what Gary Gensler here is doing is kind of riding that wave. But I think he's gone too far because crypto is totally different. The CCP can't pipe into crypto and gather up and hoover up all your personal data and just store that until the apocalypse comes and they can use it against you. No, crypto is completely different. And there is absolutely a place for microcurrencies, as we've seen in the evolution of Bitcoin, Ethereum, Cardano, and Web3 in general is built on a new currency, and it's taken on a completely new form. And guys, I think more than likely today, our afternoon video is going to be me continuing this rant, and I'm going to be reaching out to all my fellow soldiers going against Gary Gensler here, who is unelected, right? He's an unelected bureaucrat working over at the SEC, and he's telling soldiers to do something that is outside of their interest. Whew. Well, that's my little army boy rant.
Yeah, I'll say you're definitely very passionate on the issue, as you should be, and I'm very curious to know how many people actually in the military listen to Gary Gensler. How many of them know who he is, and then how many of them care what he thinks?
Yeah.
We had 2 super chats come in. We're about to jump into our special treat. We promise you guys. But Matt C joined us. He said, super chats, pizza time, fellas. Strong emoji, prayer emoji, heart emoji. Love it, Matt. Thank you so much. Love having you here. Elo Brown is also here saying happy Friday. He meant Friday, though.
Elo
to anyone who joined late, we call them Fridays now.
That's right. Friday.
Friday's old, Friday, because it is a great day. Great Friday so far today, and I meant Friday when I just said that. We're going to jump in here. All right, so I want to preface this before we get into this. This is not crypto. So we're stepping away from crypto for a second, but don't you step away because this is going to be interesting. Mm-hmm. I want to start by saying I was raised, as I think many of us were, being taught by my mom, if you have nothing nice to say, don't speak. Mm-hmm. All right? I think that's good advice. I think that we have a world that is super disrespectful to other people. They don't try to get to know each other. I think that stuff needs to end. We need to be a culture of people who loves each other, respects each other, even when we disagree. And we need to think very, very carefully about the words we choose to use, because I also, as a Christian, I believe when the Bible says that the power of life and death is in the tongue. Mm-hmm. You can choose life by speaking positive, uplifting words, and you can choose death by choosing bad words. I say all that to kind of set up what we're going to go through here. This is a little old. I think this came out technically right before Christmas, but I just saw it last night. And if I just saw it last night, I don't know how many of you have not seen this. Stanford has come up with a new list of words that need to be killed because they are deemed offensive. And I'm gonna start off. If you guys have seen this list, you guys already know where we're going with this. Some of them, I will go ahead and say, you know what? I'm in agreement. Let's get rid of that word. It's a little that's very derogatory. There's no way it could be used in a very uplifting way. Let's just get rid of it. Some of them though are absolutely ridiculous. And while we're using this as a kind of a funny, end of the show little treat, it's a little sad and it's a little scary to think that we're taking steps every single day to regulate speech, to tell people what they can say and can't say. And some of these things, again, as silly as they sound, are super scary. But let's go ahead and jump on, and we're going to have a little bit of fun here. Good news is that the initial response to this has been pretty much ridiculed and said this is ridiculous, and they've kind of backed off. I think I even read something this morning that says they've eliminated this list, or they said well, we're not yet. We just wanted to start going that way. You're on my screen already. Yep. The elimination of harmful language, and it breaks it down into some different categories. So, for example, words that can be offensive because they are deemed ableist. Let's go and read through a couple of these. One of the funniest ones that I found was addict or addicted. Don't say that someone is addicted. Say that they are hooked or devoted. So that gives you guys the excuse. You can tell your wives, tell your husbands, tell your parents, I'm not addicted to alcohol, TV. I am hooked. I'm devoted. I am an alcohol devoted person. I thought that was really funny. Addicted, don't say that anymore. Say hooked and devoted. Let's see, basket case. Don't say basket case. Say nervous. It tells you guys here, if you guys want to find the list yourself, the word don't use, what you should use instead, and then the context of why it's so offensive. Originally referred to one who has lost all 4 limbs and is therefore needed to be carried around in a basket. So don't call anyone a basket case. Just call them nervous. Let's see. Don't say that. These are some of the other ones. Don't say blind review. Don't say blind study. Because what if somebody is offended by that because they are blind? Moving on down, we have some other great ones here. We come down towards, some of the ones I do agree with, like this one right here. I'm not even going to say it on here. I'm like, yeah, we don't really need to use those words. But walk in, stand up meeting. These are all things you should not be saying. You should be saying drop in, quick meeting, because this is ableist language that trivializes the experience of people living with disabilities. Pretty much implying, are you offending the people that can't walk, that can't stand? Therefore, do not say stand up meeting or walk in visit. These are offensive. Absolutely hilarious things. Let's see. We have another category called ageism. Not necessarily a very big category. I'll go ahead and skip that one. Culturally appropriative. This is where, right off the bat, brave. It says don't use the word brave. We got a lot of language we use the word brave in. But the reason why is because this term perpetuates the stereotype of a noble, courageous savage, equating the indigenous male as being less than a man. So don't call people brave.
That's such a stretch.
It just says don't even use it. It didn't even give us a recommendation as to what we should be saying from here on out.
If they mean
we just aren't speaking.
If they're thinking that people are actually referring to each other as braves, like in the word, like I think that was a word like way back, like watch out for the braves that may be on the trail, carry a shotgun. But nobody's saying that. There's not that dynamic is gone. It's strange. It's very strange.
We don't have to go very far. Chief. Don't say chief. Call the person by their name. Calling a non-Indigenous person chief trivializes both the hereditary and elected chiefs in Indigenous communities. Calling an Indigenous person chief is a slur. Let me pause right here. I want to say I am not in support of slurs ever. My point is there's going to be several things on here that they claim are slurs towards people. And it's like, how the heck do we get that far? So we got to get rid of every single executive title that currently exists in major companies: chief executive officer, chief
I was gonna say that.
Market director. Like, I was watching someone say, they point out the irony. The person who released this whole thing, his title at Stanford is chief of something. So it doesn't even make sense. He's
chief of language control,
going that far with his own thing. But yeah, I mean, chief, like, don't say chief anymore. So we'll have to go to maybe things like what Elon Musk did with Twitter. Is he's not chief executive of Twitter. He was head twit.
Yeah.
Maybe they like head. I don't know if head is in here that they're going to say that's offensive too. I agree with this one, for example, and T-shirt talked about this. I agree. Unless the person's name is Pocahontas, I would agree. We should not call people Pocahontas. I'm in full agreement with that one. Let's see what else. Don't say spirit animal. I'm sure this is going to have to do with Indigenous people as well. So You know what's funny though is I only ever hear people that probably are in support of this document ever talk about their spirit animal. So I never really talk about mine, but don't say that anymore.
I do like the joke. It's one of my go-to dad jokes to say, like when the topic of somebody comes up, I like to say, "Oh, that person's my spirit animal." It always gets a laugh.
Okay.
Everybody loves that little
I never
joke.
use it.
But now I'm learning that it's been deeply offending people, and I have to stop.
You have to stop that, T-Shroom.
I have to stop.
Listen.
It's gotten out of control.
We're going to move on to our
But out of control is my spirit animal.
The new one we definitely have to talk about, gender-based. Gender-based words that need to be gone. I'm going to move through this because there's one more category that's going to be absolutely hilarious. Pretty much, I mean, you guys can go ahead and see this. Anything with man or woman in it. The one that got me was balls to the walls. Obviously, that attributes a personality trait to anatomy. Don't say balls to the walls anymore, T-Shroom.
I don't think I
know
can
it's
stop
one of your most
saying that
common
one.
sentences. But yeah, I'm going to skip through this one because as you guys can imagine, that one's not even that brand new. People have been saying don't use gender language for a very long time. Male, man,
But the
man
thing
hours,
is, though,
man in the middle.
Man hours.
Don't say that stuff.
Oh man, do you remember the man hours meme back in the day that we had? It was a meme between us.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, the man hours. Been
Yeah,
putting in man
a
hours.
little thing I'm on. Here's what I do notice, and before we move on from gender, you know what word is not on here?
Bros.
Bros.
Nice.
They have no problem with bros, so Investing Bros gets a pass. We're
Especially
good to go.
bros with a Z.
Yeah, man. All right, let's keep going.
But I don't understand.
You guys, that is wrong to say you guys. Of course, you're gendering people.
I don't understand how there could even be gendered language if there isn't such a thing as gender. But that just goes to show my ignorance.
Yeah.
You know,
here's where we get really, 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 really fun. And some of our viewers out here are not from the United States, and that's fine. I'm sure you'll still get a kick out of this. Using the word American is offensive. You should use U.S. citizen. This term often refers to people from the United States only, thereby insinuating that the U.S. is the most important country in the Americas, which is actually made up of 42 countries.
I wonder if Gary Gensler is going to come out and say that the soldiers should stop using the word American, if that's it's bad for their finances.
Here's the thing. I think it's absolutely ridiculous to say stop calling them Americans. That most people are going to say it's unpatriotic. I just think it's stupid. But here's where their whole argument does break down. This term, they said, implies that the U.S. is the most important country in the Americas. Let's just pause right there. Economically, what is the most important country in the entire Americas?
Canada.
Okay, now
just
you're
kidding. It's America.
It's America. Zelensky came to what country to ask for aid?
That's
America.
a good point.
United States, as they want me to say.
Zelensky, of course,
we have the largest
of
military. We have the largest economy. We literally everyone they love what we do. Even though people are always like talking about how they want to lead the United States, every other country is always talking about how they want to be more. Except for there are some countries that don't want to be like America, but every other country tries to mimic what we do here. It is the most important country, and I'm not saying that to be like every other country sucks. It is just a fact. If America were to struggle and go down, the world, and that's what we're actually kind of seeing as we're seeing the dollar start to have problems. It's going to affect the global economy. It is the most important country in the Americas.
I've never thought about that. I wouldn't have a problem with like Honduras, who's in Central America, saying "Welcome to America" when you got there. I wouldn't have a problem with that. I'd be a little bit confused, but it's like it's still America, even South America. I would be surprised actually if there wasn't a culture of saying "Welcome to America" in one of those in a country somewhere in Central or South America. Maybe not the Caribbean, because that would be kind of weird because it's a totally different thing. But
we're gonna go ahead and wrap up the show here. There's one more I wanted to read, and this one I guess you probably couldn't stretch it either. Just wanted to point out the irony. The other big word you should not be saying is the word master. It makes sense, obviously with the United States history of slavery. That I get that. Here's the the ironic problem with saying we're gonna get rid of the word master. Stanford University charges hundreds of thousands of dollars for you to go all the way through their master's program.
Mm-hmm.
So are they going to be giving those people refunds and apologizing for them being offensive? This whole thing is just absolutely ridiculous. If you guys want to look this up and look through some of these words yourself, go find this document. You just Google "Elimination of Harmful Language Initiatives" by Stanford University. Great read. It's a great read. Hopefully you guys enjoyed that segment. This is all we have for you guys on today's show, and this is the last show of the week. Make sure you look out for the afternoon video this afternoon from T-Shroom. It'll be coming out, just so you guys know, more days than not. Some days there are going to be times we skip it, but we're going to be putting out afternoon videos at 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time every single day. We are going to be growing this channel from a very, very small one in the beginning to very, very large, and there's different ways you can support. We're going to have abilities for you guys to give super chats like we just had open up today. We're going to be creating Patreons and Discords and different levels of interactions you guys can have with us. But one way, if you're like, man, I can't financially support this time, I want to be a part of this team, though. I want to support. One of the easiest ways you do that is subscribe. You can like and try to watch every single piece of content you can, and then share this content with all of your friends and family so that we can continue to grow this community, because the more views, the more subscribers, the more money we'll bring from AdSense. We'll end up having sponsors. They'll be good sponsors, but we'll have sponsors down the road, and we'll continue to build and create better content, more visually pleasing. We'll build the team, hire some people to help us make this even better, and it'll be all because even if you didn't give a single cent, just your views, your likes, your comments, and your sharing will push us to the limits of the sky. And if that's something you guys love, make sure you guys are in this channel every single day. We love you guys. We will see you on Monday. With that said, though, you guys have a great weekend.